Welcome to this video on the Contax S2 camera. The Contax S2 is a completely manual camera aimed at the amateur market. It is a manual focus, manual exposure camera that has a spot meter only. It takes lenses of the Contax Yashica line made by Carl Zeiss, Yashica and other manufacturers. There was a 60th anniversary version and later a regular version. Both are shown here. Introduced in 1992, the camera has a manual film winder and a rewind crank for film rewind. The film speed range is 12 to 6400 ASA in 1/3 of a stop increments. Metering is spot metering only, covering the area of the microprism collar in the viewfinder. The range of shutter speeds is from 1 second to 1/4000th of a second. Exposure is manual mode only. Shutter flash sync speed is 1/250th of a second, and there is a low battery level display. A mechanical cable release can be attached to the shutter release, which incorporates a lock. There is also a depth of field preview button. Multiple exposures are supported. Interchangeable focusing screens are available for this camera. The main controls on the Contax S2 are the film winder, the exposure counter, the shutter release, the shutter speed wheel, the rewind crank, the film speed dial lock. On the back of the camera are the viewfinder cover, the film speed dial lock. On the front of the camera are a depth of field preview button, a lens release at the top of the lens mount, a mechanical self-timer, a PC sync port. Wrapped around the shutter release is a shutter lock. At the front of the film winder is a multi-exposure lever. On the bottom of the camera is a film rewind release and a tripod socket, and the battery compartment that takes two LR44 batteries. When the film has been wound on, the shutter can be fired using the shutter release. There is a lock on the shutter release that prevents accidental shutter firing when activated. The lock is rotated to show the red mark to lock it. The shutter speed is set by rotating the shutter speed dial. The film speed is set manually by holding down the film speed dial lock and rotating the film speed dial to show the desired film speed. The lock is then released. To rewind the film, press the rewind release on the bottom of the camera and then rotate the rewind crank until the film is back in the cartridge. The camera also has a mechanical self-timer. This is activated by rotating it anti-clockwise. When the self-timer starts, the mirror is locked up. A mechanical cable release screws into the shutter release. A Contax rectangular diopter can be mounted in the viewfinder cover. There is a PC sync port for use with a flash that does not use a hot shoe. You have to ensure the shutter speed is 1/250th of a second or lower. The camera has no TTL flash metering. Flashes must be used in non-TTL mode, either by using the guide number or a meter built into the flash. The Contax flash, the flash ready light in the viewfinder, comes on when the flash is charged. The viewfinder illustration from the brochure is shown here. The viewfinder displays the shutter speed currently set as a flashing value, and the shutter speed indicated by the meter reading as a steady value. There are also over and under exposure indicators. There is also a flash ready indicator when using Contax flashes. The Contax S2 was a change from the usual Contax cameras of the time, which incorporated all the latest electronic features, as it was designed with manual operation in mind for optimum reliability and user control. It is a camera that needs to be used very deliberately and is not well suited to a large range of photographic situations where other Contaxes work better. It is also not cheap for manual SLR. The fact that it is fitted with a spot meter only sets it apart from most fully manual SLRs that I am aware of. This has a significant impact on the way the camera is used. Like most camera metering systems, a spot meter does not attempt to produce the correct meter reading for you. It tells you what exposure settings will produce an 18% grey, zone 5 in the zone system, for the point you are metering on. It is up to you to decide whether this is the exposure value that is correct for you in this situation. This is basically the same as using a handheld spot meter, and the same problems occur, such as the need to track changes in the light and remeter, and the choice of what to meter on. In practice, you pick where to meter and apply an offset where appropriate, then set the aperture and shutter speed, and ignore the light meter once the camera is set up, unless the lighting changes, in which case you have to do it all again. When you are not taking a meter reading, what the light meter indicates in the viewfinder does not matter, and the meter reading is likely to change when you reframe your picture anyway, so just ignore the values, except when deliberately taking a meter reading. The viewfinder is excellent and gives consistent results in bright light when focusing from either near or far with an f1.4 lens mounted, if the microprism collar is used. It has the best viewfinder I have seen on a Contax, along with the Aria, which appears to have the same viewfinder. It gives a very distinct indication of correct focus with fast lenses. If the deliberate approach required for this camera suits your style of photography, the lightweight, layout of the controls and quality of the viewfinder make the camera a joy to use, and it is one of my favourite Contaxes. It is also an elegant camera and looks gorgeous. You may find yourself tempted to stroke the camera now and then. The Contax S2 supports a magnifier or right angle finder being fitted on the viewfinder. 4 different focusing screens are available. It can be used with the Auto Macro Bellows PC. I would be careful to find one in good condition if considering buying one, and will consider getting it serviced and the light seals checked. The camera does suffer from Contax mirror slip, and this needs to be borne in mind as it may require repairing at some point. Nice camera. Pretty camera.